Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Raihan Agnaya Utwan. My student number is A320200154. Today, my group will presentation topic communicative language teaching. So, let's begin. The first slide is definition. Communicative language teaching or CLT is an approach to language instruction that prioritizes target language interaction as both the overarching goal as well as a venue for accomplishing the goal. Explained basically, there are two types of CLT. The first one is linguistic approach, and the second one is psychological or pedagogical approach. Within linguistic approach, CLT is a modification of ELM or audio lingual method. The second one is background. CLT began to develop in Britain by 1960. It was the result of dissatisfaction on the previous methods such as audio lingual method and situational language teaching. Noam Chomsky, for instance, that language acquisition cannot be based on structuralism and behaviorism due to lack of ability to account one fundamental aspect of language, namely creativity and uniqueness of individual sentence. Other linguistics such as Gambers, Labov, and WIBOWO also view language as a means of communication, not merely abundant knowledge of grammatical rules. Slide number 3 is historically. CLT has been seen as a response to the audio lingual method or ELM and as an extension or development of the national function syllabus. Text-based language learning, a more recent refinement of CLT, has gained considerably in popularity. Next. There is a difference between ELM and CLT. The first one is ELM demand memorization of structure-based dialogues. Communicative language teaching. Dialogue, if used, center around communicative function and are not normally memorized. The second one, language learning is learning structure, sounds or word, and then CLT, language learning is learning to communicate. ELM, translation is forbidden at early level. CLT, translation may be used where students need or benefit from it. And the last from ELM, reading and writing are different until speech is mastered, and CLT, reading and writing can start from the first day if desired. Next, theories. In the theory of learning, it is apparent that CLT takes some element from communication theories which address the condition needed to promote second language learning, summarized by Richard and Rogers as follows. First, the communication principle, the activities that involve real communication to promote learning. The second, the task principle, the activities in which language is used for carrying out meaningful tasks promote learning. And the last, the meaningfulness principles, language that is meaningful to the learner supports the learning process. Next slide is the goal or the purpose of CLT. CLT is deployed to develop communicate proficiency. It has some basic objective to improve communication skills. Some of the objectives of communication language teaching are given below. CLT improve communicative proficiency of all the skills, including reading, writing, listening, and speaking. Second, gradually it focuses on the grammatical, discourse, functional, social-linguistic of communicative competence. Then, it used to engage the learners in the pragmatic and functional use of language. After that, CLT usually appreciates the learners to engage in linguistic interaction with real objective. And the last, fluency is the first priority rather than accuracy. Thank you.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello, my name is ARHAM WIBOWO and my student number is A320200151. And I will continue the presentation from the first presenter about CLT or Communicative Language Teaching. In the previous slide, we already talked about the goals of CLT, and now I will present about the characteristic of communicative language teaching. In book Interpreting Communicative Language Teaching, Contexts and Concerns in Teacher Education, Savignon includes a useful summary of the 8 characteristics of communicative language teaching by the linguist M. Burns. First, language teaching is based on a view of language as communication. Second, diversity is recognized and accepted as part of language development and use in second language learners and users, as it is with first language users. Third, a learner's competence is considered relative. Fourth, more than one variety of the language is recognized as a viable model for learning and teaching. Fifth, culture is recognized as instrumental in shaping speaker communicative competence. Sixth, no single methodology or fixed set of technique is prescribed. 7. Language use is recognized as serving ideational, interpersonal, and textual functions and is related to the development of learners' competence in each. 8. It is essential that learners be engaged in doing things with language, that is, that they use language for a variety of purposes in all phases of learning. Okay, now we will talk about the procedure of CLT. We can say that the classroom activities that compatible with CLT are unlimited, depend on the teacher creativity and the learner's need. Here are some techniques that associated with CLT, such as authentic material, Scrabble sentence, language game, role play, and etc. Littlewood presented communicative methodological framework that underlying CLT activities sequence as follows. First, pre-communicative activities or control practice, which includes structural activities and quasi-communicative activities. The second one is communicative activities or free practice, which include functional communication activities and social interaction activities. The pre-communication activities' purpose is to give the learner fluent control over linguistic forms, so the learners will produce language which is acceptable. The function of these activities is to prepare the learner for the later communication. The activities example is like drills, Q&A, and etc. The communicative activities itself have the purpose to provide whole task practice, improve motivation of the learners, allow natural learning, and create a context which is support learning. Functional communicative activities example is to comparing sets of pictures and noting similarities and differences, following direction, discovering missing feature in a map or picture. Social interaction activities itself is like conversation and discussion session, dialogue, role play, simulation, debates, and etc. Okay, now we will talk about the role of teachers and learners. Well, teachers play a role as facilitator and monitor. Teachers remain in the classroom as a facilitator to be done the communication process among all the participants. They also encourage learners to join various activities, plus monitor and guiding those activities. Learners itself are expected to take on a greater degree of responsibility for their own learning. It means that the students should be more interactive and create an interactive environment in the classroom for making the learning more easy and attractive. Now I will present the merits and lack of CLT. The merits of CLT is that communicative approach is much more learners oriented because it is based on their need and interests. Communicative approach also seek to personalize and localize language and adapt it to interests of learners. Learners acquire grammar rules as a necessity to speak, so it's more proficient and efficient. The lack of CLT itself is that it pays insufficient attention to the context in which teaching and learning take place. Also, native speaker of the target language can have a great difficulty understanding the student. CLT approach also focus on fluency but not in accuracy. So the sentence correctness is presumably low. That's it for our presentation. Thank you for your attention. See you.